Hi folks, so this is your video for level 4 for your Noteflight composition project. So through your Google Classroom page, you can get to your level 4 assignment. And this is going to be another theme and variation composition. So we're going to take a theme, this time composed by Ludwig van Beethoven, called Ode to Joy. Very famous melody, you'll probably recognize it. And you're going to compose your own variation on that melody. So we remember from level 3 that a variation is a different version of the same melody. So we should be able to recognize it. It's not completely changed, but we just change it enough to make it our own little version of it. Okay? So before we start talking about level 4, let's go over here because we're going to talk about some rhythm things that you're going to need to do in level 4. So we're going to talk about things called rhythm ties, which is this thing right here, or dotted quarter notes, which is this thing right here that uses a rhythm dot. Okay, so over here we've done a little musical math here. So we've got a quarter note. That's one beat, of course. When we're in 4/4 time, our quarter note is our beat. So one beat, and we know that an eighth note is half of a beat because 2/8 notes, 2 TTs, uh, fit in a beat, so 1.5 beats. Well, what if I don't want those to be two separate notes? What if I want to connect them and have one note that is 1.5 beats long? Well, there's two ways that I can write that. I can just connect them with a rhythm tie, so this literally ties the notes together. So this is now held for 1.5 beats. Or I can use a rhythm dot. So the dot after the quarter note shows me that we've added an extra half of a beat. So the rhythm dot is also 1.5 beats. Or sorry, the dotted quarter notes, which uses a rhythm dot, is 1.5 beats. Okay? Um, so both of these are the same thing, just different ways of writing the same thing, which is one note that adds up to 1.5 beats. So if we look down here, okay, so I've written out a little rhythm that we'll count out quickly so that you can understand. So we've got, and counting here, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and I'm going to clap and count so that you can hear what the dotted quarter note sounds like. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. Okay, and I could use the rhythm tie to do the same thing, okay? So instead of using the dotted quarter note, I could also use a rhythm tie to do the same thing, okay? So now that we know what that sounds like, and now that we know how to use a dotted quarter note and a rhythm tie, let's go over to our level 4 assignment, and I'm just gonna check the time here. I ran out of time on my video last time, so this is my second time recording this video. Okay, so let's listen to our theme by Ludwig van Beethoven, and I bet you're going to recognize it. This is Ode to Joy, or the first half of Ode to Joy, anyways. Okay, so here we saw and heard a rhythm tie that held for a half of a beat, just like when I was counting 1 and 3, 4. Okay, so we've got that here, ba, ba, ba. And down here, the dotted quarter note does the same thing, ba, 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 ba. Okay, so two ways of showing the same rhythm, and that creates a syncopated rhythm, which we're going to talk about more in class later. But syncopated means that it's an uneven beat, or that it puts a note off of the beat. Okay, so I'm going to start working on my variation here, and I'm going to start, because it's based on the original melody, I'm going to start by just writing out the first two bars of the original theme without any changes. Oopsies. Now I'm making some mistakes here, but that's okay. I can use my keys to change the notes very quickly, the arrow keys up and down and sideways to change the notes. Okay, and I can just go so fast on this because I use Noteflight quite a lot. The more that you use it, the faster you're going to get at entering notes, and pretty soon you'll get the hang of it really quickly. Okay, so I've got the first two, but I haven't changed anything. It's exactly the same. So you know what? I've got to use a dotted quarter note. Why not start my piece off with a dotted quarter note? So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to add a rhythm dot to my quarter note. And that changed that, but it also took away the second note, didn't it? Because I don't have room for another quarter note anymore. I've only got a half of a beat to spare because it used an extra half of a beat in this note. Okay, so Noteflight forces you to always make sure that there's the exact right number of beats in every bar, which is a great thing about this app. Okay, so I'm going to just change that into an eighth note. Okay, and here I'm just thinking, you know what, I'm going to use some eighth notes here. And let's listen to what these first two bars sounds like, and I'll see if I like that. Okay, I like that. I definitely recognize it. It definitely sounds like the original version, which is important when we're writing a variation, so that you can recognize the main theme, but it's also my own version of it. Okay, so just like level 3, I cheated and I went ahead and I did the work ahead of time, so you don't have to watch every single thing that I did. So before we listen, let's look at what I did here. So here's the part that you watch me do, these first two bars, and then the rest of it, I put another rhythm dot here, a dotted quarter note here, which leaves an extra eighth note at the end. Okay, and at the bottom, instead of rhythm dots, I used rhythm ties. Okay, but it has the same effect. It combines a quarter note plus 1/8 note. Okay, which leaves another eighth note over here. A quarter note plus 1/8 note tied together, leaving one more eighth note over here. Okay, so let's listen to the whole thing. So we're first going to hear the original Ode to Joy theme by Beethoven, and then we're going to hear Mr. Anderson's variation on Ode to Joy. Here we go. Okay, so if you've been listening and if you've been paying attention to the entire video, you should be able to recognize those uneven syncopated rhythms, bop, 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 bop. Everywhere I've got either a dotted quarter note or a rhythm tie. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be looking for in your variation. So it's really important that you show me that, otherwise you won't be done this level. So once you've composed your variation and you're happy with it, then you're ready to save and connect and turn in, and then you're done level 4. Now, just so that I'm not making these videos too long, I'm doing the work ahead of time, so it might not look like I'm spending a lot of time figuring out what I want to do, but that's because I did the work before. So these should be things that don't just take you 5 minutes or 7 minutes. Put a lot of time into it. Really, I want to hear something that you actually think sounds like a good piece of music. Okay? If you're only doing the minimum and if you're only doing what's going to be required to pass the level, that's pretty boring. I'm looking for creativity. I'm looking for show me that you are a composer and that you can create your own music. So I really look forward to hearing your own compositions and your own variations of Ode to Joy with level 4. And then you're ready for level 5. Thanks, folks.